it's Jennifer here, Belladonna's Botanicals, and I am making this quick video. I say quick now, but who knows? Who knows how long I will ramble? So, one of the common questions I get in sometimes when I'm doing live streams or do you work with this spirit? Do you work with that spirit? Do you work with this goetic demon? Do you work with this demon? Do you work with this pantheon? Do you do the qlippoth? Do you do the Kabbalah? Do you do, this or do you do that? And it's it's fascinating to me on one level, but it's also my recommendation for people is it's not Pokemon Go. You don't gotta catch them all when it comes to like spirit work. Like for me, I like to develop really deep relationships, working relationships with the spirits I work with, whether that be Lucifer or Abaddon or Lilith, or any of the other ones I work with. I don't always feel compelled to be like, all right, well, there's 72 goetic demons, got to work with them all, or it's a matter of why, kind of like why do I need to work with all these different entities? Because I've found in my workings that as you build these deeper relationships, that you might not necessarily think about working with Abaddon for money magic, but working with Abaddon for removing obstacles and road opener stuff towards money magic, that sort of thing. So it's how you develop those relationships that you might start working with them outside the scope of when you look at the collective as to whether it's the mythologies, various personal gnosis, various books, various grimoires, historical or current, that you might find that you don't necessarily need to work within the rubric that someone else laid out for that spirit. I mean, you can, there's nothing stopping you, but it's like anytime I've done anything kind of love and relationship wise, I mostly work with Lucifer for that. I mean, I've done stuff with Astarte before, but I find that because of the way my relationship is with working with Lucifer, it makes more sense for me to do that kind of stuff with Lucifer. And usually it's more on the healing side of things, or just kind of learning lessons, shifting perspectives, etc. It's not to say that I couldn't work with Santa Muerte for that, or Lilith. Although I think I would probably work with Lilith more on like if I was doing more on either sex magic or healing from sexual trauma, I would probably work more with Lilith and Astarte on that sort of thing. But it's not necessarily like as an occultist, you don't have to do it all. I mean, I'm more than happy to learn about things, but it's sort of like, yeah, I mean, eventually I might get around to doing the qlippoth. I just haven't been called to do it yet. It's where do I end up each year? I didn't necessarily think this year I would be working with Abaddon as heavily as I have been, but here we are. And that's why I've had lots of videos about Abaddon lately. It's not to say I'm not working with aren't working with other spirits, because I recently, and this is going to kind of come up in another video, like I was doing a past life regression with someone. They're like, "Oh, Stolas is coming up here for you," and I'm like, "I've never worked with Stolas before," so yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. So that might be something that I might just be like, "Hey, sup, bro?" you know? Just be casual about it. But as things kind of come up sometimes, or that I'm drawn to a particular area, like I've been sort of exploring a little bit more with like chaos magic this year. I've it's whether or not I incorporate some things, elements of chaos magic, or go full steam ahead into chaos magic. I don't know yet, but I learn different things, whether it's healing modalities or energy work or different types of practices. And I don't feel compelled to work with everything, because not everything is going to work for you. I haven't necessarily felt a huge draw towards working either with on the Kabbalistic side or the qliphothic side of the tree of life, tree of death thing. I haven't felt particularly drawn to it. Maybe that'll change at some point. Maybe that's next year Jen's focus. Right now, I don't necessarily feel like I need to do that. Do I need to work with every different pantheon? Do I need to work through every grimoire as it was written with the rituals as they are? Not really. I mean, honestly, I find a lot of the rituals from the old grimoires, from the Ars Goetia, the Grimoire Verum, and the Grand Grimoire, like some of them are really kind of rude. Like, I wanted to build a working relationship with the demon, not force them into, something with a blasting rod and threatening them with archangels and whatnot. So, because that doesn't work for me. I'm not particularly drawn. I mean, I might work with goetic demons, but I'm going to work with them in my own way. I'm not going to, I mean, maybe some of the invocations are okay, but like I don't necessarily feel drawn to do goetic rituals the way it's in the Goetia. So, and that's okay. You can find ways that work for you. Not everything is going to be accessible in the same way to everyone. I mean, it's the same in modern grimoires and stuff like that. Like, our relationships that we build with the spirit world are very individualized. I mean, like, yes, they're overlapping, but I'm a different person than you, than anyone watching this video, past, present, or future. We have different experiences, we have different needs, we have different things that we're working on. So the way I work on something or what I'm working on them about is going to be different than what you're doing. So that's one way to look at it. But I feel like, I guess my advice here is I pay attention a lot to like the synchronicities. Like last year, Santa Muerte kept coming up for me. And it sort of got to the point, and in readings, even when I was doing work on for other people, like energy work and stuff like that, she just kept coming up and coming up and coming up, which told me it was time for me to work with Santa Muerte. I look at that sort of thing. If someone does a reading for you, like I did the past life regression, and she said that Stolas was there for me in that sense, and I hadn't really worked with Stolas before, so that's something that I want to explore further. So maybe I'll start working with Stolas. I don't know. Like, I know there's other entities that have popped up for me at various times in different circumstances. Like, I know in previous past life regressions, like APEP popped up. I'm trying to think who else did. Ones that I don't normally work with. And I mean, even when I was doing my ketamine treatments, like I ended up in the Temple of Anubis at some point in time. I don't really work with the Egyptian pantheon, speaking of APEP. But it kind of depends. Like, do I feel like I need to now suddenly explore the Egyptian pantheon? I mean, if I feel more drawn to it over time, sure. But I kind of look at where the universe is kind of directing me with what I need to do. I started working with Abaddon on one thing, and then it was like it just kind of unfolded from there. I was getting a little hexy. Not gonna lie. I've been a little frustrated with my living situation, which is why I'm moving here. But as you've seen in some of my previous videos and the things I've been working with Abaddon on aren't the typical things you would be working with Abaddon, like you would think about. Like, so I started working with Abaddon, like, just eat all my neighbors. Well, except for the cool ones, but, just silence the area. And I'm pretty sure that's why we've had like the rainiest summer here. 'Cause when it rains, people shut the fuck up. Sorry, Philadelphia. The rain is my fault. Because I would rather be miserable and rainy than have to deal with like the noise I'm dealing with all the time. So, suck it up. actually forgot the other day it was, like, July, and I went out, I'm like, "Oh my god, why is it so hot? It's, like, 90 degrees. What's going?" Because it's just been raining all the time. Oops. Not that I did any weather magic for that, but, like, it really does make it quieter. Like, as soon as we have a not rainy night, so obnoxiously loud. Anyways, I digress. Aren't y'all looking forward to me not complaining about, like, um, neighborhood noise? Although I probably, just a fair warning, it's my latest after I move, I'm probably just going to be confused by not living in a city because I've spent over half my life in Philadelphia. So I'm gonna be like, I was woken up by lawnmowers. What is this fresh hell? Um, depending on where I live. So, anyways, back to the original point is, um, don't feel like you need to work with all of any, particular pantheon, or like I know the nine demonic gatekeepers was really popular for a while. Honestly, I work with Belial. I don't really work with Amaimon. I work more with Lucifer in place of Amaimon, Abaddon, and Azazel. Have I worked with the other ones? Sure, but not as much. Like, I occasionally work with like Lucifuge, maybe like once a year. Occasionally I work with like Baal or Beelzebub or Asmodeus, maybe like once a year. Or yeah, probably about that. Sometimes they just pop up. Um, but I don't necessarily feel compelled because there was, 9 books in this series to, go through and work with, and I have to work with all 9 of them with the same, I guess, intensity or focus or something like that. So, like, that's just one example. Or like looking at the Goetia, working with the Goetic demons or any of the other grimoires and stuff like that. So, or pantheons, etc. I might be drawn to working with a particular type. Like, I don't really work with the Greco-Roman pantheon as much outside of like Hecate and Medusa, maybe. Have been once or twice Aphrodite, but um I don't really work with the Celtic pantheon outside of the Morrigan. So sometimes it's just there's certain entities that I'm drawn to from a particular area. So that's another approach. But you just have to find what works for you. And for you, it might be a very enriching experiences to pathwork the entire Goetia. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying you don't feel like you have to in order to, because everyone else has, or because this person has, or because you know so that's just my little, I try to make videos sometimes like this to answer common questions I get. And like I realize like sometimes my channel is becoming a little more like topical and philosophical kind of based, or looking at kind of issues and talking through them, as opposed to here is ritual, how to do ritual, although I do have some of that. Right now, just because I'm in the process of moving, and I have no idea when I'm gonna be able to record videos. So usually, like I do, I kind of sit down and record all of them at once, which is why I look the same in like whatever videos that come out for the next week. So, anyways, don't forget to click like and subscribe and smash the notification bell, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.